Alright, this is part 2 of the ongoing saga of the Steinberger guitar. And yesterday I did a unboxing video, just a quick one, just to show how it comes packaged, because if you order a guitar online, you want to make sure that it's coming packaged okay. I've gotten stuff from companies that basically it comes in a big piece of styrofoam that's wrapped in packing tape. I've had stuff single boxed, double boxed, and this came in good shape. So the big question yesterday was, what's wrong with it? Because it was a minor blemish closeout sale guitar on AMS. That's enough, bud. He's all excited because he wants to know what was wrong with it too. And it turns out I figured it out. It took a little while because I was looking at the frets to see if there was any, issues there, any blemishes there, issues with the fretboard, paint. When you think about blemish, you think usually in terms of cosmetics. So I did a lot of checking out just to make sure that things were okay. So 2 problems right away. This bridge, when I first got it, was like way up here. I mean, it was at probably, I'll use this as a sort of a sample. It was probably, at about an additional 15 degrees or so cant based on where it is now. And one of the issues with that is on these Steinberger guitars, they have a little latch down here that allows you to flip it up and put it into fixed bridge mode. So now the bridge isn't going to move. Well, you can't flip that up and down if the bridge is way the hell up here. So what I did was I loosened all the strings, moved the bridge down to the position that it was supposed to be in, locked it, tuned it to pitch, unlocked it, and then retuned it to pitch with the master control here. So it's better, but it's not great. And so issues are becoming apparent. Another issue is this saddle height is way too high. On some of these strings, the action is just crazy high as opposed to down where it should be. Some of the strings are, adjusted correctly from an action standpoint. Others are way too high. So that's going to have to go down. And that's just typical setup stuff that sometimes happens when you buy a guitar. But the string break is really severe coming off of these, to the point where tuning it, these tuners, you've got to really torque on these things to get them to move. And that's not necessarily the way that these tuners should work, particularly using other Steinberger tuners as a reference. I have a Gibson that has the Steinberger headstock tuners, and those things are like butter. These things are angry. They're almost seized up in here. So that's telling me that there's something wrong with the string tension here, that there's some issue with the roller bridge that's going to need to be addressed. So what I'm going to do the next time I do a string change, I'm not going to do it right now because, I just got the guitar, but the tremolo is still not in the right place. Now it's overcompensated. It's basically rocked back too far in the other direction. So this is sharp. We'll call it sharp and flat, because flat's where you dive bomb and sharp's where you pull up on the arm. This is too sharp right now, so I want to make sure that that's adjusted. But here's the problem. So it comes with a bar. It's a nice little, fit in there. Doesn't move around. You can adjust the tension on the bar if you want to, and make it a little bit looser, a little bit tighter. But here's the problem, and here's why I think it came back. Because when you go to move the tremolo, you can actually hear it. Hear that? It's seizing against the body. And I was like, why the hell is it doing that? Because if you dive bomb the tremolo, it actually stays sharp, or stays flat. So now, see how it stays sharp? And it stays flat. And you can really hear it against the body. So they want to make these bodies nice, obviously. They want to have a nice glossy finish to it, so they use a lot of lacquer. Is it overspray here? So I started looking, and in between this part of the base plate, I guess you'd call it, for the tremolo, and the body, there's enough room. I mean, there's enough room for it to move around. But if I look at that saddle right beside it, that saddle actually looks like it's the one that's hitting against the body. Because if you look at these saddles over here, look at how much space is down here between the saddle and the body. I mean, we've got a pretty good amount of space right there. And it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And by the time we get to the high E string, this saddle is basically sitting on the body. So two things here. One, is this a manufacturing problem? And I'm looking at the way that the base plate lines up. Maybe so, maybe not. I don't know. I'll have to figure out if I can adjust that back. But the larger problem is that saddle, because you see over on the other side there's plenty of space. Here on this side, no space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move these saddles back. Then I'm going to see where it lands as far as intonation. If it turns out that this saddle actually does need to be way up here, then that might necessitate a string gauge. I might have to go to a different gauge of strings in order to be able to tune it to pitch with the saddle further back. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know what gauge these strings are right now. It feels like a 10 to me, so this is probably 10 to 46, I think is what came standard on the website as far as Steinberger strings. That's the regular string, and then they've got like an extra light or something like that. So next string change, we'll pull all these strings, we'll disassemble this entire bridge, lube up this stuff real good, and see if that makes a difference. Readjust it so that the block is a little bit higher up, a little bit more level. We'll see where we go there. So I think that was the issue. I think it came back because the tremolo was catching. And you can hear it catching. So I'm going to see what I can do right now with just moving those saddles back, and then we'll go from there. But other than that, cosmetically, it's in pretty good shape. So if that's the only thing that needs to be adjusted on the guitar, if the saddles just need to move back a little bit, hey, you know, that was worth the amount saved. If it ends up being something else, then it could turn into a little bit of a nightmare. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I've got the box still, so I'll see if I can get it adjusted, and if I can't, it'll go back, because there's no sense buying a guitar that's a fixer-upper when it's new in the box. So we'll touch base later and see what's going on with this thing.